This is a little hard to read, but I think I can pull it off. Ego legere ineptius. I'm a little busy here. Come back later. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Real Horror. I'm Tensa, and today it's already time to start a new franchise. We're kicking things off with a self-proclaimed ultimate experience in grueling terror, The Evil Dead. Let's head back to the 80s, where the low-budget slasher movies were the hot new craze. Friday the 13th, banking off the success of Halloween, slammed the door open for copycats to create their own easy-to-make but highly profitable flicks about a killer picking off a bunch of unsuspecting teens. But before all that, longtime friends and aspiring filmmakers Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell were creating their own short films. Interested in the horror cinema of drive-in theaters, Raimi wanted to make his own horror film and arrived at the idea of shooting a prototype short film to show and find some potential investors for a full-length project. In 1978, the short film Within the Woods was shot for $1,600 and centered around a group of teens being attacked by an unseen demonic force in the forest. After receiving financial advice from his lawyer, Raimi requested donations, begged others, and even asked family members to help raise the money, $350,000, for his full-length feature Book of the Dead, later retitled The Evil Dead. Story-wise, it would essentially be a remake of Within the Woods. A bunch of teens go to a cabin hidden deep within the woods where a mysterious demonic force called the Deadites go after them one by one. The small crew of 13 people consisted of friends and family, including Campbell in the lead role of Ash Williams and Tom Sullivan, who did the gory makeup effects for Within the Woods. They set out to a remote cabin in the woods of Morristown, Tennessee to shoot this passion project for Raimi. So how would the final product of this guerrilla-style filmmaking stack up against the powerhouses of mainstream horror films being released? Let's take a look. The movie begins with the POV of an unseen entity patrolling the woods while a group of friends, Ash, his girlfriend Linda, sister Cheryl, Scott, and his girlfriend Shelly are renting a cabin in the mountains they've never seen for dirt cheap. Can't imagine there's any catch here.
Well, it might not be that bad.
No.
Actually, it might be kind of nice.
Yeah.
Oof, that's good. Can't argue with that sound logic. They cross a rickety-ass bridge that's falling apart as they cross, but a long drive down a creepy, off-the-beaten-path later, they arrive at the cabin that I can't believe would hold all 5 of them. The interior of the cabin and tool shed give me extreme Texas Chainsaw vibes, but the kids seem excited enough, so I guess they'll take their chances at becoming lampshades. At night, Cheryl is peacefully drawing when she hears voices from outside. Her hand loses all control and begins a weird game of Pictionary, drawing what could be, I don't know, a book? But could also very well be a block of ice. Later, dinner is interrupted when the cellar door blows open on its own.
The wind must have blown it open.
That makes what kind of sense?
Scott goes to investigate the basement, but Ash follows him down after taking too long to respond. The two of them discover a hidden room that has everything from a shotgun and tape recorder to a satanic-looking book and skullhead dagger.
This kind of looks like your old girlfriend.
Your ex looked like a spooky screaming skeleton. You sure know how to pick 'em. Upstairs, they listen to a tape left by the former resident who speaks of the Kandarian runes where he found and brought back the artifact known as the Book of the Dead.
The book is bound in human flesh and inked in human blood.
The man reads some incantations from the book, which seems to be stirring something up in the forest that busts the party up with a tree in the window. Later, we have to get some super close-up shots of Ash and Linda's eyes until he simply gives her a necklace. They start kissing, but someone, or something, is peeping on them from outside. It moves on to Cheryl, who once again hears a voice asking her to join them. If she has a death wish, she might as well investigate that strange noise or something. Well, she does. We progress into the most controversial scene in the film, which is a shame because everything before the moment builds a good atmosphere. It's eerie, the fog machine is in full effect, the shots of the enlarged moon are neat, but the unseen force takes control of the trees, restrains, strips, and assaults Cheryl. Now, it's nowhere near as offensive as something like the rape scene for Rob Zombie's Halloween, but it does feel unnecessary and out of tone with the rest of the film, being shot in a very sexual manner. However, Raimi has admitted that he regrets doing the scene.
It was unnecessarily gratuitous and a little too brutal, and finally because people were offended in a way that my goal is not to offend people. It is to entertain, thrill, scare.
Moving right on through, Cheryl escapes and in a fairly suspenseful moment struggles to get into the cabin as the force chases her down until Ash lets her inside. She's in hysterics, saying the woods themselves are alive and convinces Ash to take her into town, but there's a bit of car trouble.
I know it's not gonna start. It's not gonna let us leave.
Don't you feel ridiculous now? She doesn't for too long as they arrive at the decimated bridge with the bent metal resembling a freaking claw. Back at the cabin, Ash listens to more of the recording where the man says his wife became possessed by a demon and the only way he could destroy the evil was to dismember her. Meanwhile, Linda and Shelley play a guess that card game, but Cheryl appears to be the winner.
Jack of diamonds, jack of clubs!
Why have you disturbed our sleep? One by one we will take you.
This is where the movie takes off and shit gets real. Cheryl gruesomely stabs Linda in the ankle with a pencil in a decent looking effect, but after she goes after the rest of the group, Scott kicks her into the cellar and chains her in there. Ash puts Linda to bed while Scott and Shelley discuss what the hell they should do. My favorite part of this whole scene is that the whole panic discussion plays out through the eyes of the deadite Cheryl.
For God's sake, what happened to her eyes?
Again, I love how we see everything from Cheryl's POV, but then we get that great reveal of how demonized she's become with that little light that reaches the basement. That insane laughter and makeup is damn scary in my book. Shelley goes to her room, but the force from outside crashes in. Scott goes to investigate, but is attacked by deadite Shelley. She grabs the Kandarian dagger, but Scott uses his knife to slice her wrist. Deadite Shelley's remedy to this? Chew off her own freaking hand. Scott takes the dagger and plunges it into Shelley's back, and for a long time she just wails in this horrible agony on the floor. But she pops right back up, coming after the two men. Ash too chicken shit to use the axe in his hand, so Scott takes it. Damn, that was so bloody even the camera couldn't survive the splash zone. The two go and bury Shelley outside, but Scott says they should go and leave the girls behind, while Ash protests this thought.
What are you, crazy?
Look, I'm getting out. I don't care what happens to her.
Scotty doesn't care.
Scotty, dude!
That's a pretty harsh reaction, but after chopping your own possessed girlfriend to pieces, you'd probably feel the same. So he leaves, but when Ash goes to check on Linda, she and her pencil wound look infected. Scott returns terrified with his face torn up, while Linda creepily sits and laughs at the two, Cheryl joining in the mockery.
I don't want to die. You're not gonna leave me here, are you? Are you, Ash?
Scott bleeds uncontrollably from the face, and tired of the excessive laughing from Linda, Ash smacks her up and hesitates to put her out of her misery when she returns to her normal self. Cheryl's normal voice can be heard too, telling Ash she's alright now and requests he let her out of the cellar.
Cheryl?
I'm all right now, Ashley.
Ash's solution for Linda is to drag her outside. He tries to comfort Scott with water and talks to him about them all leaving together, but he's totally dead by now. Linda's back and stabs Ash, licking his blood off the blade, but he finally mans up and pushes her onto the dagger. He drags her body out to the shed, straps her down, and prepares to dismember her with a chainsaw, until he spots the necklace he gave her. Brokenhearted, he gives her a proper burial, but as he goes to grab the necklace, Linda rises from the grave and tears the ever-loving shit out of his leg. He tries beating her with a large piece of wood.
That's what she said.
But ultimately, he kills her by decapitating her with a shovel. Ash walks back into the house with the horrifying discovery that Cheryl's escaped the cellar. She attacks but gets a shotgun blast to the face. Ash heads to the basement for some more bullets, but he should check out that leaky pipe first. The rest of the house drips blood, including this projector that gets some blood on it, making for a really nice red tinted shot of Ash. He heads upstairs but starts freaking out as the whole house appears to act against him too. Maybe a little self-reflection will cheer him up. You gotta admit, that's a damn cool practical effect for 1981. Cheryl tries to grab Ash through the door, but gets another shotgun blast to the face. Unfortunately, Deadite Scott joins the fray and goes after his old friend. Quick, Ash, help him see the light. That works too. Cheryl finally breaks into the cabin, but Ash spots the Book of the Dead, hoping that tossing it into the fire will get rid of the Deadites. Scott and Cheryl try to thwart his plan by beating him with a fire poker and chewing his leg, but he's able to rope in the book with the necklace and destroy it in the fire. The two Deadites stop in their tracks and in some creative but questionable stop motion, decompose. After some more blood explosions, it looks like it's finally over as the voices asking Ash to join them fade away. It's finally morning, and Ash greets the sunrise victoriously as he steps outside. My overall thoughts on The Evil Dead. It's a fun, campy little horror movie. I can imagine how even in the period of slasher flicks, this film was able to shock audiences. It's like if The Exorcist and Friday the 13th took acid and mixed together. It is a slasher as kids get picked off one by one, not by a masked killer, but demonic forces from hell bent on making you suffer. Even though Sam Raimi was only 20 years old during production, he directs the hell out of the movie with the very low budget he had to work with and builds an unsettling tone into an insane bloodbath. It does look a bit dated and has a cheap feel to it, but I think that kind of works to its benefit. In that aspect, it sort of reminds me of Texas Chainsaw. The cinematography is nowhere near as good as Chainsaw, no thanks to the very out of focus shots at times, but there are some very well lit shots, and it has that similar gross, real aesthetic with the cabin. The camera work is fantastic. The techniques used to move through the woods at high speeds, travel along the water, and crash through and around the house are really well done. They had to get creative in that department to pull off some of the shots, and it helps with some of the highlights. This is the film student coming out in me, but I also noticed and appreciated the use of Dutch angles that helped with the building weirdness and insanity. The actors aren't anything to rave about, even Bruce Campbell was just an up-and-comer at this point, but you don't dislike any of the characters, and there's a very real sense that we're watching a group of friends on the trip from hell. Ash is the standout since he's the only one who has any sort of arc. At the beginning, he's very unsure of himself and fearful, not making any sort of move when he and Scott are being attacked by Shelly. But by the end, he's fighting back against his own girlfriend, sister, and best friend while descending into madness with the mental torment the demonic forces are putting him through. He powers through it all and makes it to the end until it kind of hints that the evil lives and gets him, but it also makes him one of our first final guys. The remaining characters are fine, it's just that they're more intriguing when they become Deadites. As I said before, when Cheryl becomes a Deadite, that's when things just go balls to the wall, and from there on to the very end, it's an insane roller coaster ride that doesn't stop with all the blood and gore. Tom Sullivan's makeup and special effects on them are certainly the highlights. He gets very creative, especially on Cheryl, who just gets worse and worse every time we see her, getting angrier and sadistically mocking the group. Each Deadite is very disturbing in their own right, with the fucked up eyes, decaying flesh, and demonic voices and laughs. Their deaths are so over the top, bloody, and disgusting, but have a very weird charm. I mentioned that the stop motion on Scott and Cheryl at the end is iffy, but it's neat to see the old ways of special effects implemented, and it doesn't feel out of place with the madness going on. I also like how they built up the reason behind the Deadites. The design of the Book of the Dead, bound in human flesh and written in human blood, legit looks like something you'd find at some satanic ritual. Its authenticity is enhanced with that Kandarian dagger and the freaky audio tapes from the archaeologist who brought the items with him to the cabin to study. Listening to him explain his findings, read the incantations out loud, loud and describe his experience with his possessed wife and the Deadites has a creepy, realistic feeling. Like these tapes are really the last known whereabouts of a man who fucked up and read the Book of the Freaking Dead. Draw a line in the fucking sand and do not read the Latin. I also think this is one of those movies that is horror in every sense of the word. It's horrifying to watch once shit hits the fan with Cheryl, and there are some genuinely scary moments that use both suspense and surprise with good use of jump scares. So overall, while the cheapness can be felt at times, there are some really out of focus shots, an unnecessary tree rape scene, and 80% of the human characters only become interesting after they become Deadites. This is a campy, supernatural slasher classic with amazing special effects and makeup, terrifying villains in the Deadites, top-notch direction from Sam Raimi, amazing camera work, a main character that grows through the story, and creepy lore building. I give The Evil Dead 4 Book of the Deads out of 5. But let me know your thoughts. Is this one of the best independent horror films to come out of the 80s? How do you feel about the character of Ash? Are the Deadites frightening antagonists? And what was your favorite kill? Don't forget to subscribe and follow my Twitter and Instagram. Links to those are in the description. Next week, you'll be dead by dawn if you join us for Evil Dead 2. Until next time, peace.